Hello everyone, welcome to the Golden Talkies. Once again, back on your screens and into your delicious lug holes.
I like
How
the
are
way
you?
I like the way you've started saying hello everyone in like a specific way. Is that
Yeah,
like our new thing?
it's unintentional.
Talking about
Um,
new things, there
yeah,
could potentially be a theme song at the start of this episode, Jamie.
yeah, I looked some up.
Or
Uh,
we might do that next week. I don't know. We'll see. But
yeah, depending on how lazy we are. There might be
yeah,
some good old-timey, scratchy stuff that we found for free.
potentially. I was thinking
Uh,
something a bit more grand. But I've also not
well, you can
listened.
try,
I've
yeah.
I've not listened to any of the ones you've sent. So I mean, we're going to listen to them
Oh.
after this recording. Um,
To
so
be honest, I can already see the seeds of this being a debate that will last longer than an
then,
hour.
yeah,
Maybe
then
it
the
will
time
be
it will
next
take to
week.
do this one. So yeah, maybe next week there'll be a theme song. Anyway, what is this podcast,
Oh.
Jamie?
This is the Golden Talkies. We talk about a film that's celebrating its golden anniversary.
That's right. That means
That's where the
that's
name comes from.
75 years ago today.
50 years ago, Duncan. I can't believe you forgot.
I was joking, Jamie.
Oh,
What is
good, good,
75
good.
years actually? Um,
Diamond and a bit.
Diamond and a bit. Let me look it up.
Yeah.
75-year anniversary. Oh, I'll tell you, it's the 75th anniversary of VJ Day today. That's a
Yes.
lot of A's there. It's the 75th anniversary of VJ Day today.
Yeah, the one that gets slightly less press for
Yeah.
some reason. Imagine why.
I guess there was
Just, yeah.
less British personnel involved in it. Although I
True.
remember,
Also, somehow manages to be less morally clear cut than VED.
yeah,
The
and
defeat
I
of
also
Allied
remember
intervention.
in VE Day they like tried to do a reminder thing where they were like, just so you remember, a lot of it wasn't the end for a lot of British soldiers because they celebrated victory in Europe and a lot of them were sent over to finish war in Japan. Anyway, VJ Day. VJ sounds a little bit dodgy, doesn't it? A little bit like a vagina. So maybe that's
I was about
why.
to say, it sounds like some sort of like weird obscure version of a VJ, like like in the dark corners of Urban Dictionary, they'll be like the VJ
A
if
vagina
like
job.
starts it off, and then she like bends backward because she's a contortionist and sort of spits it into the.
I think it's just normal sex, Jimmy, a vagina job. I
I
say
guess so, it
normal.
would be, wouldn't it?
Hetero normal. That was a very heteronormative
Or
thing of me to
lesbian.
say. Uh,
It would still be a vagina job.
I guess so, yeah. I don't. I think that's more an internet thing. I don't think. Maybe we shouldn't get into it on this podcast.
Maybe it's not the appropriate venue.
This might not be the place to discuss how people can have sex however they want as long as they don't break any
That's true.
laws and there's consent between all
Yeah.
parties. They can do whatever they want. Um,
Any hole you like, including the ear, the most unrestricted hole.
Oral sex. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I think nasal sex is the next big thing. Apparently, the 75th anniversary is also diamond. There's like two
Oh,
diamond things, the 60th and the 75th, because I
wow.
guess not many people get to the 75th.
Yeah. I guess
Anyway,
they're just too afraid to admit that they ran out of precious gems.
exactly.
So they're just like, yeah, sod it, it's diamond again.
Precious gems like gold, for example, which marks 50
Yes,
years.
well, you start off with precious metals, which, as everyone knows, are worse than precious gems. It
That's true.
works for Pokemon generations and it works for wedding anniversaries. That's the way it goes.
And and Jimmy, talking about gold, the film we're
Yes.
watching this week is about gold, isn't it, Jamie? What film are we
Oh,
watching this
yeah.
week?
But it was about gold, you say. I didn't think they really mentioned it, Duncan. This film is called A Man Called Sledge, or if you're a real wit from the set, A Man Called Sludge.
What did someone call him that in the film? Jamie, are you okay?
Apparently, on the set, they called it A Man Called Sludge. That was a little in joke.
Oh, that's quite funny.
It's not.
Not really, no. So this film, it's a western. Well, historical
It's
context. I've not got any historical
Yeah. Go for
context.
historical context.
I've not got any.
Let's.
There,
Thanks, Duncan.
the magazines were even more boring than usual. There was nothing new in the charts. There was a brief moment where, well, the release date for this film, it has many release dates.
Yeah.
We have now worked out the I think it must have been the premiere was August the 13th,
Yes.
which is this week. But there's many release dates. So initially I put the
Mhm.
wrong date into takemeback.to because I just did it
Disgusting.
without even thinking. And Back Home by the England World Cup squad was in the top five. And I thought,
Once again.
surely that's not stuck its way back into the charts. But then I realised that I'd just like copied the date from Wikipedia, and that was the US release date, and it was a year later or something like
Uh,
that. So yeah, this had a weird release schedule, but it did come out in
yeah.
London. I
One thing
assume
I have
premiere
noticed while we're
now.
looking at release schedules of films is just how much longer it took a film to like release around the world. Then, like most of them take like 2 years between
Yes,
like first release date and the last international
I
release
think
date.
Norway was the last one that this film came out in in
Yeah,
1972 or something like that. Although I think
yeah, that's basically 3 years, really.
there's
No,
still quite a long time today. In
yeah,
some
I
places,
suppose.
not anywhere near as long, but there is still like there's a gap between the US and the UK often, which you just
That's
don't even
true.
think about, and then you realize for some films you're like, oh shit, this has been out for so
Well, it's
long
not there
that
for big films, but whenever it's like a sort of like mid-tier
a
film,
mid
like I
tier
remember
film,
Knives Out
exactly,
and The Lighthouse had like pretty big gaps between their US and UK release
exactly,
dates too.
exactly.
Um,
Obviously, the big films like Avengers, it's so spoiler heavy, that like
yeah.
it has a set release date. But yeah, a lot of films you find first of all, you find that they come out in the US earlier, or in some cases the UK earlier. It's not actually always
Yeah.
US, but then it can take months for it to get all around the world. Depending on various things. I wonder to what extent it's to do with like China has a limit on the amount of Western films that can come in.
I didn't. I believe it.
Yeah, they
Uh,
do. That's why. Okay, I'm going to segue from my segue, and then I'll come back. I'm going to segue from my tangent, and I'll come back to the original tangent. So
great.
for example, the Meg with Jason Statham.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So that
Big
film
shark film.
has like three Chinese actors in it, and a scene set in Hong Kong, and that was done so that it ticked the Chinese box of
Yeah.
this is like a Chinese co-production, and you see quite a lot of
Ah, okay.
films that are Chinese co-productions.
I was about to say because Transformers Five, I heard was like a lot of it was set in China, so that it could
Yeah,
like appeal to the Chinese market
an
and stuff.
interesting one I read the other day was that I can't remember which character it was, but there's a you know how one of the upcoming Marvel films is a Chinese character. I can't remember his name for the life of me. Um,
Doctor Strange's pal.
I don't think it's linked to Doctor Strange. I can't. I'm not going to try and say because I would say
Yeah.
something like marginally racist and mess it up. But there's a character in Marvel that is Chinese, and apparently they almost introduced him like 10 years ago in a post-credit sequence just so they could show the film in China, and then they're like, no,
All
that
right.
messes up our story so much because like his film's not coming out till the mid 2020s, so it's just
Hmm.
fucking stupid to put him in a post-credit in 2011 or whatever. But they were close to doing that to get the film released in China. I don't know how they. I think it was one of the Avengers one. I don't know how they got around it.
Yeah.
But then back from that, um, yeah, a lot. What was I saying? A lot of films like The Meg are Chinese co-productions. I think that was my whole point.
Yeah.
Um,
That was your whole point, I
so
think.
then back to the other thing. I wonder how much the release dates being pushed back in other countries is to do with meeting quotas and stuff.
Oh
Like
yeah.
maybe I don't know France. France is probably a bad example, but somewhere has like a quarterly. It resets quarterly. Like financial
Mm.
quarters. It resets how many films there are, and that's why they release later there. I don't know. It'd be interesting
Yeah.
to look into. Maybe I should look into it
I suppose.
because
Maybe you should.
it's not something you think about. You tend to think of a film's release date being the release date, and you don't really think about
Yeah.
how spread out they can be in terms of distribution. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, as you were saying, certainly in the 70s it seemed even more so that.
Yeah. I mean, I think even just because like I suppose a lot of the time like you got to do translations and dubs and stuff, and that's
Yeah,
obviously going to take.
that's true. Yeah.
But even like I suppose it must be to do with rights as well. Because I can't think of any other reason that the UK and US would have such disparate.
Yeah, I think the distribution is actually separate as well. Like the cinema companies and the distribution companies are often different, or different
Yeah.
subsidiaries of a major company maybe. Um,
Mm.
like Paramount UK maybe has a certain amount of releases that they try and get out, and then the US one maybe has a higher number, or I don't know, maybe the British government has a certain number of lower budget films need to be released in a period. Like I assume there's just so many factors,
Yeah.
in it that it's hard to pick one out. But yeah,
Fair.
it is interesting, and it's interesting how that's going to change moving forward in terms of now a lot of films are just releasing straight to streaming sites,
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
don't know how that. Yeah,
And I dare say, I mean, there's that. Oh, what's it, the Paramount Accord fell apart last week, I think. So we're going to see a lot of changes in how films are distributed.
yeah.
Because now vertical integration is allowed, baby.
Yes, I remember reading about
It's
that
going to
when they were
get
going to do that.
worse.
Although I'm right in saying that to get an Oscar, you still have to show your film in the cinema for a certain amount of time, right?
Yes, because Netflix do that still.
Yeah, it's like The Irishman came out for.
It's sort of like courtesy thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
can always, I think, although sometimes they really really show it in the minimum amount of cinemas, but
Yeah.
generally, I think stuff like The Irishman they do try and release it so that everyone
Well, I
has a
think the
chance to see
Irish
it.
stuff like the Irishman as well. Like, if you release it in the cinemas, you're going to sell tickets just from people who want to see it on the big screen.
Exactly, but it was
Like,
only in
it's got an
cinemas.
appeal beyond ticking the box.
It was only in cinemas for like a week though. Still, I mean, they never released
Well, I
it
mean, because
fully.
you're still selling it to like people who are going to like a cinema ticket costs more than a 1 month Netflix subscription.
Yeah,
So it's people who are willing to pay an unnecessary amount to watch it on the big screen,
yeah,
which is a missed
but
market.
Netflix obviously don't get all that money. Like a lot of
Yeah,
that.
that's the other thing as well.
Whereas they get obviously they don't get all the money from the streaming, but I guess it's a lot more profitable.
Well, they'll get all of it if if it's a film they produce, presumably.
From streaming,
Yeah.
yeah, but they have to pay. I
I mean, yeah, they have to pay
guess
like
they have to.
royalties
I don't
and
know
stuff.
how. I don't know. Another thing that I've often wondered is obviously with cinema tickets. Let's say I produce a film and I get 30% of the takings. Cinema
Mm.
tickets, it's very easy to say we sold this many tickets. Not very easy, but relatively easy. You sold this many tickets. Here's your money. Whereas I feel like for
Mm.
streaming, it's so hard to know to measure the views and to measure how many people are watching it and who's bought the subscription for that and what subscriptions. I don't even know how that works.
Yeah. I know Spotify is like you get a third of a cent per play of your song. I'm
Right.
assuming Netflix will have worked out some sort of
It
I
must be,
suspect
yeah.
higher than Spotify. It's not much higher, but higher. I think maybe like 5 cents or something,
It must be. I mean,
and then like, they'll divvy up that money.
yeah. I guess it's people's whole jobs, isn't it, to do these things and
Mm.
analyze these things and
Yeah.
yeah, man, we should talk about the film, shouldn't we?
Yes. So the film is, as a reminder, a man called Sledge.
Yeah.
It is unclear if Sledge is his first or second name. That's up for the viewer.
I think it's
Oh no, wait. Isn't it
his do breaking up time. It's his second name. His first name's Luther.
Luther Sledge?
Luther
Cool.
Sledge. But
Luther.
it's very much a surname based film generally.
Yes.
And actually, in some
the
cases,
two,
not even name based at all.
yeah. The two genres of film, as we all know, are surname-based films and first-name-based
Exactly.
films. Every film can be slotted into one of those two
You
categories.
you are forgetting the hybrid films that use people's full names every single scene.
Yes. And of course, very rare middle
For
name
example,
films.
John Wick.
You really see in art museums.
John Wick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
John
James
Wick
Bond.
was a real paradigm shifter.
John Wick, James Bond.
James Bond is a surname film, Duncan. Don't try and smish it. He introduced himself surname first.
It's a 2/3 surname, 1/3 first name film.
Nah, mate. It's how you the first word out of your mouth. That's what decides the genre.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Anyway, A Man Called Sledge is a spaghetti western.
It is.
It is
Wait.
the second western we've done on the show after Cheyenne Social Club. Western, obviously, kind of interesting as a mostly dead genre.
Was she in Social Club? Was it a spaghetti western? I don't think it was.
No, it was a regular western.
Yeah.
For people who, for some bizarre reason, don't listen to every episode of this podcast, Cheyenne Social Club was a comedy western. It wasn't really based around cowboys and stuff. It was a sort of
Well, it was.
So
actually,
It was a wacky romp.
as we discussed in the episode, it was based around cowboys, but it was based around real cowboys that were actual boys that
Yeah,
followed cows.
herded cows.
Yeah.
It wasn't about gunslingers. It was about a man who inherited a brothel and the
Exactly.
wacky scenarios that.
Exactly.
Listen to the episode. It's okay. A pretty average episode, I'd say.
I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this is spaghetti western. I'd say it's a very, very conventional western. If anyone wants to pause the episode and make a little bingo card, I guarantee you'll get a few hits on it.
Definitely.
So we start.
Just before we go into it, we say it's a spaghetti western. That it was filmed in Italy,
Well, okay.
and the producer was Italian American. But other than that, as far as I can tell, it's basically just a normal western.
Yeah.
You know, like spaghetti westerns tend to have like directors and composers, especially that are Italian. This one is definitely on the verge of not being a spaghetti western.
All right.
I think, although I'm not sure actually to what extent it's based on I don't know. It might just be a style of western more so than I don't know.
No, I think the location. I mean, I suppose because it's more of a recognition of a trend, as it were.
Yeah, definitely. I guess it's Italian. It's Italian style. I'm looking up now, and it's talking about Italian style western. So I suppose that's.
Yeah.
You know, I made a spaghetti western, Jamie. Did you know
that? Did you now?
Yeah.
What was it called?
Blazing Forks.
Interesting.
It's about. Oh. It's a duel. But they eat spaghetti. The duel is them eating spaghetti.
Okay. Duncan, I'm going to ask you a very serious question.
Yeah.
Did you come up with the pun on spaghetti western and then make the film from there?
Do you know, actually, I don't think so. I think it was the other way round. I think we had the idea for the spaghetti contest, and at that point we thought spaghetti western, and then we shot it like a western. Right. So I suppose in that way, yes. But I might be misremembering, but I don't think we sat down and said spaghetti western. Wouldn't it be funny if we did spaghetti? But I might be wrong. That might be what happened. Anyway. Okay, regardless,
you redeemed yourself in my eyes.
Regardless, A Man Called Sledge is a spaghetti western in some sense of the word. But just know that it's not a spaghetti western as in like very much made by Italians. It is pretty American as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
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 So unconventionally for my little plot summaries, because I'm able to do it this week, I'm going to give a quick 2-sentence summary, and then I'm going to go into like the actual plot proper.
Oh, okay.
We all have a nice framework. Because A Man Called Sledge is a very easy film to sum up.
Yeah.
It's about a heist that happens in a western, and then they all sort of get annoyed with each other over how they split the prize, and then they all end up killing each other.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we open up on a snowy theme. One thing I will say to this film's credit is that I think it has a lot of, not necessarily unconventional, but at least not super boring aesthetics for a cowboy film. So we start off with snowy cowboys, which is my personal favourite Western aesthetic. I don't know about your opinion on snowy cowboys, Duncan, but I'm always a fan.
It's very Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
I don't mind a snowy Western. I think it's cool. I think it's cool to mix, as this film does, the snowy Western with the desert Western.
Deserty.
I think it reminds you of the sort of the fact that it's a frontier and it's pushing through various harsh climates and stuff. Yeah, that's my thought.
It just feels a little less artificial as well.
Oh, like Hateful Eight's a very much a snowy western, isn't it?
Oh yeah, of course it is, and I still have not seen it.
I would recommend it. I as I said when we watched The Shine Social Club, I really have not seen a lot of westerns. But then when I think about it, I have actually seen a few. But I think I've just not seen the big ones. You know.
I think the thing is that a lot of people are more familiar with either like spaghetti westerns or modern westerns, which are very much playing off the template set by like
westerns.
Yeah, not to be rude, but like, what's the name? Robert Redford and stuff like that. Bruce, whatever he's called. But you know, like the very conventional westerns, which I don't think anyone has ever really seen, at least in this day and age. But
yeah, I watched True Grit, the original True Grit.
Yeah, like that's the original. Okay.
From 1969, so I guess it's part of this. I mean, it's got John Wayne in it, so that's This kind of new.
John Wayne as well, yeah. Obviously,
John
that's
Wayne
the.
is the new Western kind of thing. I guess it's hard to the Magnificent Seven.
Oh yeah.
That's from 1960. That's one I've not seen, but I want to see.
I hate that film.
I think that is very much the traditional,
That
maybe,
Yeah, I think so.
or is that the start of?
Uh, there's not much complexity to the Magnificent Seven, other than the fact that the villain in it's quite nice. It's pretty
Yeah,
reasonable. Other than that, I'm sure I might have even said the story on the podcast, but I watched the Magnificent Seven immediately after watching the Seven Samurai, which is a remake of,
that
and
would.
it's very much an inferior film, so it's always looked bad in my eyes.
Okay,
Uh,
I've looked up Western, and
mhm.
one of the things that's here is a pornographic Western,
Oh well, of course.
which sounds pretty good. Wild Gals of the Naked West, A Dirty Western, Sweet Savage, Custer's
Mhm.
Revenge. These all sound pretty. Well, that's a
By
video
the
game.
way,
Custer's Revenge is an adult sex video
oh,
game.
have you not heard of Custer's Revenge? Can I
No.
tell you the story of Custer's Revenge? Okay, so you've heard about like the video game crash after Atari, right?
Yeah.
ET and stuff. So Custer's Revenge plays a sort of smaller part in that. So the thing about Atari was that they didn't make it so that you needed their permission to make cartridges for their machine. Anyone
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
So like pornographic games became a thing, but like obviously it's the Atari, so they all look
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I can see a screenshot from this one.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
god.
Custer's Revenge is basically you play as General Custer in a cowboy hat and belt and nothing else.
Mhm.
And the game is that you just rape an Indian girl,
Yeah, I'm seeing that. A Native
and that's
American,
it.
please, Jamie. Use the
But they
correct
sorry,
nomenclature.
yeah, sorry. In fair, yeah. But anyway, there was a huge furore over that game, understandably, when it came out.
Yeah.
So that caused like a miniature scandal. And whilst obviously like the video game crash is mostly ET's fault, that was a real shot to the leg, as it were, for the whole enterprise.
Wow. This. Yeah. Damn, I hadn't heard about this. Wow.
Yeah. It's quite
Space
bad.
West. Oh, Space Western, of course. That's a big thing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I love Space Western. I've only
I've
seen one.
I've only seen The
Watch Cowboy
Mandalorian.
Bebop on all four, on everyone. It's right there for free if you're in the UK. Watch
Yeah.
it.
Spaghetti
Uh,
westerns during the 1960s and 70s. Snow western. Yeah, this is all the stuff we've been talking about, I guess. Classical western. Oh, of course, the western is The Great Train Robbery. Have you seen A Great Train Robbery?
I've not seen the Great Train Robbery. You've
It's
had the tone of someone who's had to watch it for a class.
yeah, I did have to watch it for a class.
Yeah.
It's quite good actually. It holds
Hmm,
up. Um, I mean, obviously it
fair
doesn't
enough.
hold up, well, but it
Hmm.
holds up pretty well. It's pretty cool.
What's the rough plot of the Great Train Robbery?
They rob a
So,
train.
okay, so
They
it's still following the robbers. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, they rob a train. They celebrate robbing a train. Then they get in a gunfight with the law, and I
Hmm.
believe the law wins, if I remember correctly. Um,
Okay. Well, I was wondering if maybe like with the Hays Code and stuff, maybe like a trend from classical Western onwards is that you sort of see a slight change of allegiance from like your sort of Robert Redford, like very morally good cowboy to
hmm
the varmints. Sorry, with an N.
Yeah.
Um,
Huh.
yeah,
Well, there you go. So,
yeah,
plot summary. Let's.
yes. 25 minutes in, baby. Let's
Well,
start.
the thing is, I'm
Uh,
not sure how much we're gonna have to talk about this film, so I feel like let's
that's true, actually. It's good to set the ground.
exactly.
Uh, so we start off on a snowy field, as I said, and we get that trend which I love so much, and will continue to extol, which is that you do the credits before the film starts.
hmm
Um, the film has a main theme tune which we will get to later, but the theme tune that plays over the credits is terrible, like genuinely awful. It's very like
Uh,
rinky,
I can't even remember
untuneful.
it. Is it
It's not the one with lyrics.
okay?
Um,
Yeah, I don't. I actually, now that you say it, I vaguely remember not being a big fan of the opening. But
yeah, which is weird because most westerns, like the one thing you can sort of guarantee is that someone will put a lot of effort into one theme tune.
well, I don't believe this film has a composer.
Does it not?
Obviously it does, but I don't think. Maybe let me have a look. I don't remember seeing like, composed
Mhm.
by. What was it? What was the guy that passed away recently? There was like the big
I'm
western.
so sorry, I don't remember.
He did all of
I'll
Sergio
Leone's films.
Leone's.
Yeah, I remember he passed away.
Let
The
me look him up.
font, on the other hand, I must say, for the opening credits, is a very lovely font.
Ennio Morricone.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Yeah. Well, he doesn't have to do everything.
So
Great, Duncan, you selfish
what
wad.
did you say?
Give him a break. He doesn't have to do every film.
No, I'm not saying it's to every film, but I'm just saying I don't think this. Well, Gianni Ferrio,
Mm.
Italian composer. Okay, it did have a Italian composer, so I guess that does very much
Yeah.
make it spaghetti western.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Anyway, the opening credits scene tune's bad.
Okay.
We start on a highway robbery. We got Sledge and his partner, and they sort of, go chase a stagecoach down.
As you do.
And there's an accident during it because, like, the sort of person sitting in the shotgun seat gets out their shotgun and then drops it when Sledge tells them, like, hands up and stuff, and then
Get
it
shot in the
lands.
head.
Like, the gun goes off and shoots the driver in the head.
Yeah, which is pretty brutal.
Yep.
And Sledge is not happy about that. Sledge feels bad.
He's not. He says he feels bad because it was unnecessary. It's
Yeah.
He's not all bad, fellas. Here's his redeeming character trait.
Exactly.
But, he and his partner, they rob the stagecoach and then they go off to the local saloon/brothel. It's called the Free W's, which is because it's got water for horses
Yep.
and whiskey and women for men.
You're damn
which
right.
is a wonderful name and so incredibly tacky
Yeah.
compared to anything I've ever seen. No,
I'm not sure how western it is either.
it's Free W's.
I don't know, I guess it could be.
It feels like the signs they have in the background in like The Simpsons or Futurama and stuff, where like the
Yeah.
sign has to be broke. Yeah, it's that sort of.
Yeah, it really
Wow.
is. Yeah.
So they go to the saloon. They have the traditional tense scene where they walk in. There's a very weird choice to have. This film really likes scenes that are sort of shot from the floor, looking upwards. Often in ways that don't quite make sense, sometimes in ways that do. So they have one of those where it's almost as though you're trying to look up Sledge's skirt as he walks into the saloon.
Yeah.
And then he does that most delightful of cowboy activities and orders 2 entire bottles of whiskey
For $10.
for $10 dues.
Pretty good price, if you ask me.
It is a good price, but these cowboy, I think cowboys drink a lot of whiskey in films. I hadn't really quite realized just how much until this scene where he orders 2 entire bottles.
Well, one's for him, one's for his partner.
Yes, but he still drinks an entire bottle of whiskey, which I don't think I'd be able to do.
No.
Speaking
Half a
from
bottle,
experience.
maybe, and then you're...
Half a bottle would be me destroyed for.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
But,
the amount that people drink in films is never... like, the people tend to drink a lot in films, don't they?
Yes.
To be fair.
Cool in it.
Hmm?
Plus, so it's cool in it.
It's cool.
Uh,
It's cool to drink.
Plus, that way you get James Bond and he can look to the camera and say, "Gordon's gin, please."
Yeah.
And then wink.
A bottle of Gordon, please.
Obviously not happening here. Anyway, they're at the Free W's.
Yeah.
And Sledge is down for that third W.
So-
now that he's got water for his horse and whiskey, he's going to get that woman.
Yeah.
So he goes, spends spends a romantic time with his lady. I think she's called Rhea. I forgot her
Rhea,
name.
yeah.
Rhea.
She's Italian as well. She's one of the other Italian people involved
Yeah.
in the film.
Good for her.
So that's his girlfriend, but she is also a prostitute.
Yeah.
Which
It's
is
a very
quite common.
weirdly, yeah. It's quite a interestingly shot romantic scene. Just that it's got shaky cam, as it were.
Yeah.
It feels very intense. I think it actually worked quite well. I
I did not even notice, but sure.
Look at you, asleep at the wheel, Duncan.
I let Jesus take the wheel whenever sex comes on, Jamie. I shouldn't look at that stuff.
That's so. Anyway, Sledge's partner goes down and he starts playing poker, with his winnings. And then we get the real theme song for this film, the real meat of it,
Hmm.
which is a wonderful, beautiful piece. It's like a guitar song with someone singing about gold, baby.
And what
Uh,
happens? What happens if you take another man's gold?
what happens if you take another man's gold?
So
Remember, you've been told about worship and gold. Uh, two
that's the one.
genuine lines.
Do you know who wrote that song, Jimmy?
I do not know who
A
did.
Scottish guy called Bill
Wow.
Martin and an Irish
Wait, have I?
guy called Phil
No.
Coulter.
Bill Martin, assuming it's not the same one, was the Beatles producer.
I um I don't think so. Bill Martin, he passed away this year in March.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's
So
a
rest in
shame.
peace
I hope it
him.
wasn't
He
Corona.
was not. He okay. He worked with this Phil Coulter guy a lot. Um, he wrote "Puppet on a String." Congratulations, back home by England World Cup squad.
Wait, really? Wait, he wrote it?
What the fuck?
Wow, what a great leap.
Oh my god, Jamie, this is
Yes!
unbelievable. This is unbelievable. The guy. Okay. Oh my god. Okay, the two people that wrote the song from this film wrote back home.
Yeah,
But
incredible.
they're not English though. That's such an
A,
English
they're not
song.
English. B, I'm just gonna order some judgment here. The song isn't very well written.
What, back home?
I haven't listened to Back Home, but the theme song for this film, at the very least, is very clumsily written. It's got a lot of awkward rhymes in
Yeah, it does. I guess
it.
yeah,
But you
they
got
could not be that good at all. Anyway, Bill Martin, rest in peace. Phil Coulter is still active,
yeah.
not rest in peace.
I should say I love for Bill Martin's legacy. I love the song dearly. This is not the first time we will see it in this film. It goes very hard. It's very passionate about what it's about.
Yeah,
It's about gold. It lets you know it's about gold.
bit gold, and it lets you know, Jimmy.
When
Do
you
you know what it
take
lets you
gold,
know? It,
what does it let me
what
know?
happens when you touch another man's gold?
Yes. You just remember what you've been told about worshipping gold.
Just remember.
Please. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Uh,
it's sung by Stefan Grossman as well, just to let
cool.
everyone know.
Okay. So in what we will discover is a bit of tasty foreshadowing. After this poker game, Sledge's pal is killed for cheating, I think, actually, or being accused of cheating.
No, is he?
Maybe he's just killed for money.
I think he's
He's
just
killed
killed
for
for
some
money.
reason.
I don't think he's killed
Yeah.
for cheating. I think he's just killed for money.
Sledge sort of tries to come out and help, but he's too drunk, perhaps because he's drunk an entire bottle of whiskey.
He's pretending to be drunk.
Oh, is it just? Oh yeah, of course he is just pretending.
Yeah.
So actually totally fine after drinking an entire bottle of
Yeah,
whiskey.
more surprisingly, he's literally fine. He pretends to be drunk. He
Uh,
walks down the stair and so he walks down the stairs and the two guys that shot his friend are like, "Oh, look at this drunk idiot. Go back to bed, you drunkard." And he stumbles down the stairs and he stumbles about
and
and then they push him on top of his dead friend and then he gets his
Mhm.
dead friend's gun and he goes pop pop like
shoots them all.
Deadeye Red Dead Redemption fucking bang bang pop in the head, pop in the head. The boy lands on the piano starts playing because it's an
I was about to say,
automatic
yeah, it does
piano.
the wonderful chord. It does the thing where the dead body falls on the piano, and then it does the tune. It's great.
Yeah, because the piano's one of these like wind up automatic
It's
ones.
a piano, baby.
Yeah, and the guy falls in it and starts playing.
Diddle-a-ding-dong, yeah.
And Jamie, who else is in the pub? The saloon?
Oh, the old man.
The old man, who is never
So, I
named
think-
in the whole film, despite being in pretty much
Yes.
every scene from now on.
He is called
Yeah.
Old Man, and that's his deal.
I really like that. Actually, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, it's not like Sledge would ever learn his name as a character.
Exactly.
He never really respects him or anything.
Exactly.
So you know what? I forget people's names all the time on this show. I'm not forgetting the old man's name.
It would be helpful
let's credit
if
to
every film had like that in it.
If I was just allowed to refer to characters as that guy, then imagine
Yeah.
how much easier these things would be.
The main cowboy and the old man go up the hill to see the blonde woman with the big bunanis.
So that's every film we've seen. So the old man, he's very impressed by Sledge, obviously, and he follows Sledge as he goes away from the Three W's to not snowy cowboy land, to
Yeah.
more conventional cowboy fare. And Sledge notices the old man is following him, and Sledge lets you know he has a bounty on his head. So he's about to do to the old man what Trog did to that poor butcher 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. He does hang him up, but he hangs him up.
Yeah,
Um,
with ropes, I should say, not through his lung.
yeah,
But
not unlike Trog, he does not hang him up on a hook through his thing. He just hangs him up with a bit of rope. So it's
yeah,
quite nice
good for him.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, the old man says that he's not actually out for the bounty. He's out to give Sledge some information, which is about he knows about some hidden gold.
He knows about another man's gold.
Yes, but hidden gold is another check on your Western scorecard. I'm sure everyone.
Yeah.
But this hidden gold in a double whammy is hidden in a prison, baby. There's like a big mine where they get gold all the time because it's the gold rush days, and then transport it. 75 men transport it to a prison where it's held.
It's not 40 men.
To be transported. 40 men, sorry.
Yeah.
I assume it's held in the prison to be transported further, but they never really talk about that. There's gold in the prison, baby.
Yeah.
Uh,
They do talk about it, sort of.
Yeah, there's a clear.
They-
I'm not
they-
trying to say, like,
At
they,
one,
they don't slack on the exposition about the gold.
no, I
You know,
think
we know
at one
it's
point
been
they
reduced,
do
we know it's
say.
been transported.
At one point they do say where it goes.
Yeah,
Just
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm
it
sure
comes
it's
out.
been
It comes out. The important thing is it comes out the mine,
yeah,
straight out the
and it's
mine,
transported.
gets escorted
to
by
the prison.
40 hand-picked soldiers, and then it gets locked in a safe in the prison.
Yes,
That's all you need to know.
exactly. So Sledge rounds up his old gang.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have names. I don't remember any of them.
Same.
They the
Hooker.
most
One of them's called
relevant.
Hooker, and Ward.
Oh, yeah,
Ward.
cool.
Yeah. Those are the two I
Um,
remember.
Yeah, you'd think they'd be a wacky cast of characters. They aren't really. They're just kind of there. That's fine too.
Yeah, that's fine too. Yeah.
They don't. Not every gang has to be a bunch of lovable misfits. They can just be people. So they decide, okay, well, obviously, we can ambush the gold train, as we did, as we always do, with our highway robberies, and then we can steal this gold, and it's enough gold that they'll be rich forever,
Yeah.
splitting it among themselves. So they decide, they have a little scuffle with the sheriff because they stop off at a town,
Yeah.
to stock up on ammo and stuff. And it's the old man's job to get it, but they get rumbled by the sheriff because it's a bit suspicious when an old man buys enough ammo for 12 people.
It is, and the sheriff recognizes him.
Yeah, that's the other thing. The old man was in jail in that town.
Yeah.
But whilst he wouldn't be recognized in the town itself, a law enforcement official would.
We'd certainly recognize him. Yeah.
Yes. But they escape. It's cool. They have a little shootout. If you're into shootouts, it's there for you. Eat and be merry.
Exactly.
Yeah, let me just try and remember.
Trying to remember what happened.
Yeah, wait, you. Okay. Yeah, so they talk about gold, and then they go and try and find the gold train, and they sort
Yeah.
of come.
They go to scout it out.
Yeah, they scout it out, and they see the gold train, and Sledge is a bit more optimistic, but like the general consensus is we can't beat that many
Yeah.
soldiers.
And Sledge says, "I'm going to ride out and see how they react." And he rides out, and immediately they get in like a full battle formation.
Yes, and they really love that battle formation. Like someone's like, I've never seen a battle formation so perfect.
Exactly. I ain't never seen no horses line up like that before in my goddamn life. Never
Yes.
ever.
The battle formation is a cross, by the way, which
Yeah.
seemed that unconventional, but maybe it is.
I guess so. I don't know.
Guess it defies the imagination.
Jimmy, as someone that has never been in the Wild West, I don't know what the battle formations are for
That's fair.
40 men.
I can't imagine they get too many battles out in the West anyway.
No.
So they sort of make a camp, pointlessly, really. The old man gets laid. It's important that we all know that happens.
The old man gets
Uh,
laid.
Yeah, do you not remember that wonderful scene?
Uh,
The old man comes out of like the tent and like, oh, the old man's had his way with I can't remember the
oh,
name. And
I
then he's like, yeah, your boy should have seen me when I was younger. And then one of them starts playing accordion, and the old man starts dancing.
I remember that. I obviously missed the sex bit.
Oh, there's no like actual sex scene. The man just emerges from the
No,
tent
I get it.
saying, "I done had sex."
They all get very drunk on whiskey.
Yep. hmm which
Hmm.
good for them.
Again,
And
some
at
more
this
whiskey.
point, Sledge comes up with a brilliant scheme, which is that he's gonna get himself arrested, and
Yeah.
then that way he'll be in the prison, and he'll break out of the prison and take the gold with him.
Yep. And
Uh,
the person that gives him this idea is the old man, because the old man says something about. Well, the old man says the closest you'll
yeah,
ever get to that
the old
gold
man,
would
the old
be
man used to be in the
inside.
prison, and that's why he knows the gold is there.
Yeah.
And
So
then
he's been in prison next to the gold for
yeah,
20 years.
he was 6 inches away from the
6 years
gold.
to gold, and he keeps going on about
Between
this.
him,
And then he thinks that
yeah.
he's like ruined Sledge's day, and he's like, "Oh, the closest you'll ever get to that gold is being inside the prison." And then Sledge goes,
Being inside
"Be
the prison,
inside the prison."
say. Then he rubs his
He
chin,
rubs
and
his
it's
chin, and then he says, "We ain't gonna drink no more whiskey until we got that gold." And then they all holler and hurrah, and
eh.
yeah, and that's
Eh.
what happens.
So one of Sledge's gang members, I think, pretends to be the marshal, if that's right.
Yeah, that's Ward,
Or at least or a bounty hunter. Yes, that's Ward.
who is
Uh,
played by Dennis Weaver, who was in
I've
Jewel.
heard of him.
He was in
Jewel?
Jewel, Jamie.
What's Jewel?
Steven Spielberg's first film.
Oh, Duel.
Yeah, Duel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have said Duel,
Yeah.
I guess, rather than Jewel. Duel.
Yeah.
He's in Duel. He's in Spielberg's first film, which, by the way, is an
Mhm.
awesome film.
You have extolled its virtues to me many a
I know I
time.
have. You've still not seen it, so I'm saying it again. Well, it comes
Well.
out in 1971, so if we're still doing this podcast next year, Jamie, then
Oh,
you will.
then you'll get your day in the
I'll
sun.
get my day in the sun. Anyway, he's good in that, and he's good in this, and he's called Dennis
Okay.
Weaver, and he plays Ward.
Yeah, so Ward pretends to be a bounty hunter, and he's like, I've got Sledge. I'm taking him to, cash him in.
Yeah.
I'm a bit worried about sleeping around him. So, you prison fellas, could you hold on to him for, I don't know, yeah, overnight? Could you look after both of us? We
Yeah,
can stay
could
in
you
this-
could you
on
lock
our
us
thing.
both up? Is what he says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're a bit like, okay, that's not really what prison's for, mate.
Yeah.
But he eventually talks them round, including the sheriff who they interacted with earlier, who's a bit annoyed that he can't just beat on Sledge right now. But he'll get him one day, and that's also the sheriff's last scene. So they end up in the prison. It's a very not nice prison, very convincingly unpleasant.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Where it's due. Yeah.
It's like something from Skyrim. They go underground, and it's all like, tunnels and darkness.
That's
and...
what I said. It's just like Skyrim, the most effective prison drama of all time.
Exactly. No, when you go in a cave in Skyrim. Oh
I
no,
haven't
you
played
get sent.
Skyrim.
You get sent to prison in Skyrim if you go to Markef or whatever it's called.
Well, like every Elder Scrolls game starts you off as being a prisoner. That's the big gag.
No, but this is partway through Skyrim. You get sent to prison.
I'm sure.
Spoiler alert. I'm looking at my map of Skyrim now to remember which town it is. I think it's Markef. It's like up in the mountains, and you get sent to prison, and then you have to escape. You literally cannot continue doing anything until you escape the prison. And it's very much like this. It's like down a mine, and it's all dark and dingy, and that's what it reminded me of. So, yeah.
It's underground. The prisoners are all shouting, and they're all very nasty men.
They're very nasty men.
But they get themselves locked in, and then Sledge has he has something taped to his back. That's like their strategy. I can't actually remember what it was.
Little gun.
Little gun. That's it. Sorry.
Little gun.
Sledge has a little gun. Ward obviously gets Sheriff out of the Sledge out of the handcuffs because they're his handcuffs, so he would have the key.
Obviously.
At this point, the inmates make a lot of noise, not because of any plan of theirs, but just because that's what they do.
Yeah.
And so one of the guards comes down and he beats one of them on the hand with his kosh.
Yeah.
And at this point, Ward is able to sort of trick him into coming over, and he and Sledge overpower him through the bars. Sort of take his cut
Hilariously.
and beat him on the head. I didn't think it was that funny, but
No, I'm
whatever.
saying hilariously as in it seems ridiculous. I'm more
Oh,
thinking
right.
about the second guy that comes in, which I'm sure you're about to say.
Yes, the second, yeah. So uh, the first guy has keys,
Yeah.
and they're like, okay, we got the keys, now we can get out. And it turns out those aren't the right
And then the
keys.
prisoners go, "Oh, you idiot! Mac doesn't
Yeah,
have the keys for the cells. Red
these
has the
are
keys
other
for the
keys. These
cells.
are these are the keys to his house.
These are,
Idiot.
I think it's like these are keys to
Uh,
the block. Red's got the
yeah,
keys to the cells." And
yeah.
then, sure enough,
Do in a video game where it's like, oh, you got the blue key card, but this door needs the red
yeah,
key card.
exactly.
Moron.
Moron, you
Um,
fucking idiot. You incompetent
so
fucking idiot.
Mac's coming down the hole, and they're like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? Ward, not Ward. The other guy's lying down on the floor. He's knocked out. So they decide to weekend at Bernie's it, as we call it in the biz,
Yeah.
and they pull him up so it looks like he's standing up.
It looks
Uh,
like he's standing up, but his head is bleeding, so they have to have him facing them. So it looks like he's standing
yeah,
up, leaning against the cell, with his head
yeah.
like in between the bars.
So the other guys understandably like, hey, you okay, mate?
Yeah.
And he walks over, and then they overpower him as well.
Well, then, so yeah, the other guard walks in, and the cell block is a corridor with the
Yes.
cells either side. And he walks down the middle, and then he sees his friend Mac passed out, and instead of
Mhm.
raising the alarm, he slowly walks backwards until he hits the cells behind him. At which point he's grabbed by a prisoner through the bars, and he makes no effort to fight the prisoner off. As the prisoners pass him down the cells, like they reach round the
Yeah.
cell and grab him, at no point does he flail or try and hit them or try and release himself. He just accepts that he's being dragged down the cells by prisoners that are
Probably his
stuck in the
first day.
cells, all the way until Sledge can get the gun on him, and then
Yeah.
he
And then
throws
he
his
shoots him.
keys.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's I'm sure the training standards aren't that high in old timey
I
Western
guess
jail.
not.
Uh, so the keys sort of fall down in the middle of the corridor, and there's a scene where like one prisoner is really having to stretch to get them,
Yeah.
but he manages it, and he's about to unlock his own cell first, as you'd expect him to, and then Ward's like, "Nah, mate, toss him over here," and then he does for some reason. Um, so Ward and Sledge are now out, and they start releasing all the other prisoners, and release everyone because we need a prison riot, as any prison break does, obviously.
Exactly.
And then during the ensuing chaos, the rest of Sledge's gang come in, and the plan it turns out is that they're going to, for some reason, the safe with the gold in it is in the cell block. The plan is to get the warden down, and then they can hold the warden at gunpoint, and he'll open the
Because
safe.
the warden knows the
Yeah,
code.
combination.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the warden gets killed in the riot.
Yeah.
So this is in a bit of a sticky wicket. But Sledge has a little bit of a trick up his sleeve, and he decides to exploit the old man's psychological trauma for his own benefit. So he tosses the old man in the cell. The old man starts to have a nervous breakdown due to PTSD, understandably, from being in a cell for 20 years or so. But Sledge is like, I won't release you, old man, unless you remember the combination, because you were here for 20 years. So the old man's able to remember from the sound of the clicks what the combination to the cell is.
Yeah.
Not cell, safe. And there's a very tense scene. It's very quiet, very sort of click. It's very well done.
Yeah.
The safe doesn't open at first, and it's like, ah, shit, what's going to happen now?
Yeah.
They're stuck. And then the old man remembers at the last minute that you got to turn the handle 2 times. So then they get in the safe, they get their gold, baby.
They sure
And
do.
then they get out of there. And they high haul it. And that's our heist.
Yep.
So, there they are. They're away in the desert, celebrating. They divvy up their share.
Yeah.
Not in the pirates' fashion, because Sledge gets to take 2 shares of gold, whereas everybody else only gets to take 1 share.
Yeah.
But one of the
What's
guys
the
like,
pirates? What's the pirates' fashion?
so a fun fact is that pirates were one of the first democracies in the world, and that in pirate ship, single member of the crew would get an equal share of any sort of
All right.
hull cargo, and so the captain would get one share, and so would like the crow nest boy,
Crow
whatever that's called.
nest boy.
Look out! I watched Captain Pugwash. I remember.
The crow boy one boy nest.
Yeah,
The
I
nest
could have
boy.
named any other. Could have named any other role on the ship, but topman or cook. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I expect pirate ships probably didn't have dedicated cooks, but
No, they probably did. Is that not what Long John
yeah.
Silver is in Treasure Island?
Oh, that's true. Is Treasure Island historically accurate?
Um, is Robert Louis Stevenson historically accurate?
Well, as a writer or as a person?
As a writer.
Uh, what else did he write? Did he? Well, he didn't do Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, did he? 'Cause
He did
if so, I
Kidnapped.
feel that's a slightly damning.
Kidnapped. And Dr. Jekyll and Mr.
Robert
Hyde.
Louis Stevenson. Let's see what he's written.
He-
He did do Dr.
Jamie?
Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, so I don't think he's
You there?
super dedicated
Jamie?
to accuracy above all else.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Could you
I'm
hear?
here.
Could you hear me saying, "Are you there"?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. Well, I couldn't hear you. Robert Louis Stevenson. He did Treasure Island, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and Kidnapped. And do you want to know what his wife was called?
I could look it up myself, and it would be very cool. But why don't you tell me? Because I'm bored.
Fanny Stevenson.
Yeah.
Pretty funny.
But anyway, as I was saying, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde does not show a great precedent for accuracy above all else. I don't know. Plus, pirates didn't bury the treasure, right? So that's another little mark against it.
Okay, so
But anyway,
right. So Treasure Island is not accurate. So Long John. So maybe they didn't have cooks. I think they had cooks though.
Yeah.
Generally.
I'm sure. I'm sure
Presumably
maybe
it
they would.
depends on the size of the ship and the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. Why in God's name were we talking about this? Oh yeah, because they're divvying out the gold.
Yeah.
And they each almost get an equal share apart from Sledge. And then one of the guys like, hey, who wants to play cards? Because he's trying to really max his share of the gold. And then we return, of course, to our favorite character, which is the theme song. Second time round, baby, encore. Even more tense about telling us what we should know about worshipping gold.
Exactly.
And first that follows other men's gold.
Yeah.
Time sort of followed by a montage of people playing cards and looking very deranged while they do it and laughing and stuff.
The montage is very interesting. It's like something out of Easy Rider. It's very.
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
It's almost psychedelic, isn't it?
It's very close to psychedelic. If it wasn't for the fact that it's also very dedicated to making the cards look as intimidating as possible and does not manage it.
Yeah.
So you'll see like deranged faces of like people laughing, particularly the old man, and then like it will also have a shot of someone shuffling cards.
Yeah.
As a very intense guitar player talking about the curse.
Yeah. I actually thought it was a very effective scene, though. To be honest.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I make fun of it because I love it. I really love the theme song. Any scene that features it is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. But yeah, anyway, they play their poker game, and if you remember, who cares? But at one point, kind of out of nowhere, the old man just shoots one of the other people playing the game because he was cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sledge's like, well, look, you know what? Fair's fair. He cheated.
Yeah.
His life wasn't his anymore from the moment he cheated.
Yeah, you're right. He says it was the old man's right to kill him.
Yeah, it's like, I wouldn't have done it personally, but totally above board for him to do.
Yeah. It's
there
like
were a range of actions available to him. That was one of them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone for it. You wouldn't have gone for it.
But
it's fine.
But he did. It's his right. Personally, I would never. But he did. So yeah.
Who are we to judge, really?
Yeah.
But as a sort of act of justice, maybe you could say, Sledge says, "I'm going to play against you, old man. I'm going to win all of your gold off you in a game of cards." And we don't really see a game of cards, but Sledge wins, and he gets his now 3 shares of gold, and he's like, "Okay, peace and out, so long, buckaroos."
Yeah.
and he rides off to another town.
A
So
Spanish town. Well,
yeah, I was about to
Mexican.
say, in terms of
Yeah.
sort of unique aesthetics that this film has, this film, he sort of arrives in this Mexican Catholic town as they're doing sort of religious ceremony,
Yeah.
but sort of like, and like this is a lady with a skull mask and stuff. So it's again quite unique in terms of look. I mean, a lot of westerns involve like have like Catholic trappings, as it were, because I guess that's the part of the country it was. But yeah, you don't see too strong a Mexican aesthetic in a lot of them. I'd say.
No, I would say no, not at all. It's
Yeah,
generally not
which, again, that's another nice little twist.
a little
Just a little
twist.
visual variety.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so I was gonna say one of my criticisms of this film, I think this is the time to bring it up, is that obviously the film, as the theme song tells us many, many, many a time, is supposed to be like how about the corrupting influence of money or whatever, like how it's torn these people apart. Um, but I find that the disagreement that they have comes across a little unnatural to me, a little forced. I don't know if that's
Right.
how you felt.
The
It feels
the
just the arguments over gold erupt so suddenly. I feel it's a bit. It seems to me a little too sticking to the outline, if you know what I
yeah,
mean.
I think
Rather than
so. I mean, there could definitely be an argument that that's the point, is it's to show how people act in such like
yeah.
high stakes things. So I guess from that point of view, yeah, but it definitely, definitely.
What I'm trying to say is that I feel like the script's like, okay, and at this point, when they're doing like their big outline, they're like, at this point, they'll fall out over the gold. And then I don't think the actual script quite gets to the point where it justifies that switch.
Yes, yeah, I would agree.
Um, so it comes off feeling a bit moralistic in a way that just feels a little unnatural.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. I was thinking, I think it's bad. I know we suggest improvements on the show quite a lot, and obviously we usually say things that are very conventional. So I try to be a bit wary about that,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously it's better to be unique than anything else. But I was
Obviously.
thinking that another way you could structure this film hypothetically, if you were going for that message, would be to open with the heist, and then have an entire film about the arguments over the gold, sort of like Western Reservoir Dogs, as it were.
Yes, you could do.
Maybe that would make more sense. But
Um,
again,
Although I feel like they'd be quite boring. The
you think so?
yeah, I feel like it is structured pretty well to
Yeah.
keep
I suppose
parts.
just to
You have it's very traditionally structured. Like
yes,
the
that's fair.
introduction, and then you have like the big thing that happens, and then like the reaction to that big thing, and then the final, what we're about to come on to, the
Mm.
final sort of shootout or whatever. So
Yeah.
it is structured very traditionally, but I feel like that kind of works. I feel like you don't have to mess with that. You can do, definitely, and I'm sure it would still be a good
Yeah.
film if they did, but or would still be a good film,
Yeah.
would be a good film. I don't know. We'd not come
Well, yeah.
into
I
that bit
mean, I
yet.
suppose what I'm trying to say is that obviously, like the meat of the film thematically is the fact that they all have gold and fall out over it.
Yeah.
But that's only 20 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I
and I
guess
think
if you look at it that way,
to
that is
show that.
obviously supposed to be what the film is about, and then yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I don't want to like trample away and saying, well, me with my 0 years of experience, I've figured out this little puzzle,
this little
gentlemen.
this little
Uh,
little how to structure a film question, little
yeah, so I think I've got it.
got
Took a
it
little
fully
whack at it.
understood, fully
You boys
understood.
heard boys heard of a hero's journey? Didn't think so.
Well, there's actually only 7 stories, Jamie, that anyone's ever told.
Mm, exactly. I didn't come up with that just because it sounds cool. It's verifiable.
What's that guy called? Like
I forgot.
uh,
Uh,
the hero's
the
journey. Oh,
name
it's
is yeah,
man, what's the guy? Joseph Campbell. Yeah,
yeah, uh,
is that right?
possibly. It sounds familiar.
I don't know if
Let's
that's
see.
right. There's a guy
Joseph,
that has said that there's basically
yeah,
one story that everyone tells, and then
the monument. Yeah, that's him.
there's
Yeah,
another
we are not.
theory. There's another theory that there's like 7 stories that everyone always tells or something like that.
We are not Campbell stands on this podcast. Please get out of here if you are. Uh,
Yeah, you're breaking up a lot, by the way.
Am I? That's a shame.
That's a shame. I mean, obviously, it's probably just the internet. It might pick up again. Yeah, there's. Fuck, what was I about to say? I've totally lost my train of thought on this.
Monomyth. You're on the monomyth.
I'm on the monomyth. I'm on the monolith, and I'm on the monomyth, and yeah. Um, I feel like there's a lot more story. I feel like yes. I feel like you. Okay, I've got what I was gonna say. Okay,
Mm.
I feel like every single story. Yes, you can simplify it down to fit into the hero's journey or to fit into whatever people have come up with as like the
Yeah.
stories. But you could fucking simplify anything down to fit into things, or you could
Mm.
compromise certain things to sort of fit it
Uh,
into this thing or another. But I think everything is unique unless it's directly copying something, and even then,
yeah.
there's individual decisions that have had to be made. So
Well, I've
I
never.
really don't think that it's fair to say it because I think you could you could fit anything into anything if you tried
Yeah.
hard
Well, I feel
enough.
like the hero's journey, like if you're wanting to like structure something like a story and then like use that as a template, that's fine. But if you're saying every film fits into it, I think is
Y-
delusional.
Exactly.
Because they don't.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly specific for something that's supposed to fit like
It's
the
supposed to
vast
fit
majority
everything.
of
Yeah,
ever
exactly.
made.
And I
And
mean,
like the example people always choose is Star Wars, which is a stupid example because it's based off of it.
yeah.
And that
But
really annoys me.
his argument is that he's analyzed every story, you know,
I mean, it's very nice.
myths and stuff, and come up with this story. But sure, he has. But like,
I don't believe him. Is my honest to
yeah,
goodness
I
answer.
believe him, but I don't think that it's that. I think it's forced. It feels forced in a lot
Yeah,
of cases.
that's forcing a conclusion out of data. I feel.
Yeah.
Plus, like, I don't, not to rag on myths or anything, but most of them aren't really functional as stories. I'd be honest. Like, at least in the forms that we know of them, you know.
So
Uh,
here's the hero's journey, right? You've got
yeah.
ordinary ordinary world, the call to
Mm,
adventure,
yeah.
refusal of the call, meeting the
Yes.
mentor, crossing the threshold, tests allies
Yeah.
enemies, approach to the inmost cave, the ordeal, reward, seizing the sword, the road back, resurrection, return of elixir, ordinary world. It's like it just is not.
No, and
You
like a lot
you
of those
you could force any film into that narrative, but or any
could well
story, but it's
like
like
meeting
not.
the mentor, for example. Like that's a genuinely pretty specific requirement there.
Yeah, it
Like not
happens
every
in a lot of
film has
films,
a character. It does, but like not
but
every film has to have even a character who's more knowledgeable than the
no,
protagonist, which I would say like the broadest possible definition of
but
a mentor.
but what they do is they say like, oh, at this point they realize that their father had been a mentor to them and he died 6 years ago, or it's like they saw something or noticed something and that acted as their mentor, and it's like, well, that's obviously not what the point of it is. It's just I a lot of these things, they're just too specific,
Yeah,
and people read into them too much and force into them too much.
that's definitely. I feel there's this big, particularly among people who are just sort of beginning to understand like film, like structure or themes or whatever. There's this really big temptation to look for like this key, like you'll find the key, and therefore that will be the objective answer
Yeah,
to art, as it were.
and then
Uh,
you
people
watch
who
it.
are like,
Uh,
what does this film mean? And like, they want like a 6 word answer, and then like that'll
exactly.
be, you know,
Whereas it's
uh,
unique to everyone. But the thing is,
yeah,
people. I mean, you watch a bunch of films that are
mm,
made in a traditional manner, and then you hear about
yeah,
this kind of thing, and you think back to those films, you think, shit, yeah, every single film does. But then it's the ones that don't fit into it that really make you think and that really bring out a reaction. Like that's a film can be
yeah,
great and fit into. Don't get, a film can be absolutely great and fit into these traditional narratives and traditional things, but like it's not the be all and end all.
yeah, exactly.
So
Um,
yeah, that's
like
yeah,
Dan Harmon, writer of Community and Rick and Morty, among others. I know that like always fits his stories into the hero's journey, and like they're usually quite well written. But I would say that you do notice like issues with it. Like they do feel a bit repetitive at times and stuff. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's other structures to explore.
Exactly.
Anyway, to get back to the point,
Yeah.
you're mad about gold all of a sudden.
Yeah.
The old man, who everyone was really mad at, a few minutes ago, says, "Hey, let's all go get Sledge's gold from him.
Yeah.
Don't we deserve it, guys? Really?"
Yeah. Like a
So
like a bloody socialist, Jamie. A liberal cuck.
Well, you know what, Duncan? Now that you've reframed it that way, you're right. The old man.
And they ruined that way. The old man is right. He's just
You know
he's just
what?
reclaiming the wealth.
Exactly. You know what? Why does Sledge deserve 3 times much of a share as anyone else? Really? Shouldn't they all split it equally, and not be responsible for how they spent it? That's how socialism works.
Exactly, Jamie.
Um,
I'm glad you I'm glad you
yes,
agree.
The way that socialism works is that everyone gets an equal share, and then they spend it, and then they're allowed to say, "Wait, actually, no, I want backsies."
That's what people want, Jamie.
That's it.
That's what they want.
Anyway,
Uh,
so Sledge just arrived in this town, and the old man's
Yeah.
like, "Yo, Sledge, give us half your money, and we'll leave you alone. Otherwise, we're gonna go kill you. Is that cool, fam?" And Sledge says, "No, that's not cool." And they go, "Okay, then, we're just gonna kill you."
yeah.
So Sledge has a shootout with his old gang. That's the last Western cliche for you to tick off your list, listeners. And the old man... Oh, no, we've got one more. The old man reveals about halfway through that he's got Sledge's lady love
Yeah.
as a hostage. And he's like, "You should yell for him." And she goes, "Fuck you."
Yeah. You're gonna kill him
And
anyway.
yeah, you're going to kill him anyway. And he's like, "Oh, well, you'll have to deal with Curly," or whatever one of the guys' names is.
And then he rapes her.
I was about to say there's what could be deemed an implied rape scene here, which would obviously be very not cool and bad. The only reason I think it's possible that I missed. What you see is Curly says, "You're gonna have to deal with me now," and then he takes off his jacket. The next scene where we see Rhea, she's being thrown off a building.
Yeah.
So it's possible that that's all that happened, and we just misinterpreted it. But it certainly looks like it's an implied rape scene.
I think it's an implied rape scene.
Yeah.
If I had to choose a scene in this film to be a rape scene, it would be this scene.
Fair.
Is that a weird way to phrase it?
Yes. It's a bit skeevy. We'll leave it at that. Skeevy moment.
Okay. Yeah.
But as Sledge's lady love is dying in his arms, of course, she says, "We didn't need the gold to be happy."
Yeah.
To sort of give you a little bit of the thematic message of this film. And Sledge sort of lays her down. And he's like, "Okay, Sledge has now killed off every member of the gang, other than the old man who rides with Sledge for their final confrontation."
Yeah.
The Sledge sort of shoots at the ground, and the old man falls off the horse, I guess, because he panics or whatever. And Sledge, points the gun at him. Old man's on the ground, on his knees. He says, "Sledge, if you kill me, you'll never know where I've hidden the gold.
Yeah.
Let me live, and I'll show you to it." And this is, Sledge's moment as a character. He's got to choose between good, wholesome revenge
Yeah.
or getting the gold. Has he learned his lesson? Has he changed as a person? Has he learned the main underlying message, which the film very helpfully reminds us of in a very forced flashback, where we get to hear his lady love saying, "We didn't need the gold to be happy," just one more time.
Exactly.
It's been 3 minutes since she said it the first time,
Yeah. And
just in case we forgot.
of course, Jamie, as alongside that, just in case you've forgotten what happens when you mess with other men's gold, they do also play the theme song again around this point.
I was about to say, Sledge makes the correct decision, and he says, "Fuck you, old man," and shoots him.
Yeah.
The old man's like, I will the gold to you, but you'll never find it."
Yeah.
And then he dies. And Sledge rides off amongst sort of graves with candles on them, and then we get one last go with the theme song.
Yeah.
And then a surprise twist, the narrator goes like, the curse of other men's gold, I hope that you will see that man was me." in a shocking twist, revealing that Sledge is the one who has been singing the not super great theme tune this entire time.
Sledge has
He
been
had
telling the
to
story.
share with us all. Yeah, and that is A Man Called Sledge. So you got any overall thoughts, Duncan?
Whew, that was quite the plot summary, wasn't it?
It was.
God.
Well, actually.
Um,
Really.
do I have any? The cinematography in this film was nice.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
For close-ups, but not so much for landscape.
You think so?
As in, I feel like when you're watching a western, you maybe expect some of the like big vistas. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And there wasn't so much of that.
Makes sense.
There was a bit of that, but not so much. But yeah, the close-ups
Yeah.
and stuff were shot really nicely. It was all framed well. It was good. Cinematography was good.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it was. It has, like I say, it has a slightly strange obsession with those shots filmed from the floor. Sorry, I'm being arrested again.
Yeah.
And it's weird, but it makes a couple of strange choices that I don't think entirely work.
Yeah.
But always nice to experiment, and overall, I'd say it's pretty well done, pretty functional.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's any images that will stay with me for the rest of my life in it.
No, I think it's. I've seen it, and I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is a very solid 7 out of 10 Western.
Oh, are you rating it already?
I'm not rating it because that's not our system. We don't use out of 10.
We don't use out of 10. Fucking nerd.
But I'm just saying that as a B plus film, to use another rating, just to really hammer in that if you're just in the mood for an unexceptional Western done decently well, this is the film for you. It's the template. It's what you want. It's got everything you want, nothing you
Don't
need
want
or to expect.
Yeah.
It's there for you, baby.
I guess then, what's your rating in our rating system?
Well, why don't you remind ladies and gentlemen what our rating system is?
Okay. Number 1, don't watch it. Just don't watch it.
Yeah.
If someone's watching it, you say, no, I'm not watching that with you. If you have the option to buy it, don't buy it. Don't watch it. Blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is watch it if it's on. If you're sitting watching TV and the remote is just a little bit too far away from you, or your friend says, I'm watching this with my dinner.
As we all know, you walk into your room and your flatmate's there and you're saying, I'm watching 1970s A Man Called Sledge.
Exactly.
When you're in that position, as it will all reach us one day, what do?
So watch it if it's on. That's number 2. Watch if it's
Yeah.
on. Number 3 is actively watch it. So if you're sitting and you're thinking, what film am I going to watch? If you can find this one for free on a streaming service, or
That you
dare I
own,
say illegally, but don't watch films illegally.
This film is on.
It's not good.
is on Dailymotion 2 times over, and we paid for it this week.
Wait, is it on Dailymotion? What do you mean this
There's
week?
not just one version of on Dailymotion. There's 2 versions of. On
Jamie, we always pay for it. We've never watched.
We always watch it legally.
We always
But
watch
it's
it
not
legally. However,
but the people who upload the videos on the legal sites have not always done so in compliance with copyright law.
no.
That would be fair.
That's true. So it is on Dailymotion. So I didn't have to pay for it.
No.
However, I did pay for it. So that is rating number 3 is watch if you can get it for free. Rating number 4 is pay for it. So specifically, go out your way to watch it and pay for it. Pay for it on Prime. Pay for it. Order the DVD. Pay for it on Netflix.
If you're in Fox
whatever.
Video, then I would say Netflix. If you already have a subscription, is part of the rating board.
Yeah, I forgot that Netflix doesn't do buying stuff. Sorry, that was my bad.
Yeah.
That's my bad.
And then our 5th rating.
Get the Criterion Collection.
Yeah.
Or the special edition.
That's what you're into.
Or
the
merchandise or whatever.
Just go full in. This is your new favorite. You should spend as much money on it as possible.
Exactly. So, I would rate this film. Watch if it's on.
I was about to say the exact same thing. It's a solid watch if it's on.
Is this the first time you've rated the same? It can't be. Is it?
No, I think we rated others. Watch if it's on. I would say we rate a lot of films.
We do, but I think we tend to go either side of each other.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if we've ever rated a film the same on this
Huh.
podcast. Maybe we have. Maybe we haven't. Either way, we have today.
Yeah. This film is perfectly serviceable, as I was saying. If you're very specifically in the mood for a western, then this is genuinely a perfectly good pick.
It is. However, I would say um, there's probably better. There's definitely better westerns, and there's probably better westerns that are
Yes,
available for free as well.
that is absolutely true.
So I would.
But when like we've just to be clear, because we say like, oh, you can watch this film in a better way before. Like I said that about Too Late the Hero, which was our second episode. So I just want to be clear that this is genuinely a good film.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
Exceptional.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, if you've seen most of like the big names of, if you've seen like Good, Bad, and the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars, stuff like that, the westerns that people know well, and you just want to watch another one, then I
Oh yeah,
genuinely think this is a good pick.
that's true. Um, we forgot to talk about the director, Jamie.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't look up who the director was. Who was it?
Well, Jamie, there's a pretty heartbreaking story with the director.
Is he dead?
Yeah. So, okay. So he's called Vic Morrow. Vic Morrow.
Uh-huh.
He's American. He was mainly an actor. Would you like to know how
Oh.
he passed away, Jamie?
Maybe not. But let's go.
He got decapitated by helicopter blades on the set of Twilight Zone the movie in 1982
Oh God, I've heard about that.
alongside a pair of child actors. Him and two
Of course.
child actors were killed when a helicopter crashed, and he specifically was decapitated by a helicopter blade.
Yeah. No, I've heard about that. Like the
So
disaster on the Twilight Zone set. That's
it's
horrible.
pretty horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Ye-
his part in the Twilight Zone movie was he's a racist guy, and then he gets transported into the bodies of people that are victims of racism. So
Yeah, that's a very Twilight Zone movie.
he becomes a Jew in the Holocaust. He becomes a black man getting lynched by the KKK, and finally he becomes a Vietnamese guy getting killed by American soldiers. And it was
Yeah.
that's where he got killed by the helicopter. I assume he's not in the film.
The finished film, as far as I can tell, is a remake of 4 episodes, sort of stitched together.
It could be.
The only
Oh
one
no,
of the
he is in
episodes.
it apparently.
Oh well, I might finish.
So I guess he finished his bits. I don't know.
Yeah. Wait, is Vic Morrow right? I'll figure it out.
Vic Morrow, yeah. Anyway, it's a pretty horrific way to die. We've had a few deaths like that on the podcast, haven't we?
Well, I was about to say because it sounds remarkably similar to the Catch
The Catch
22.
22 guy. He fell out of the plane though. Filming
Yeah.
he was filming James Bond, right? And then he fell out of the plane.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's the same kind of like horrific
Yeah.
on-set
Oh,
death. You don't get a lot of deaths on sets nowadays, I don't think. The health and safety is a lot.
Health and safety's
Yeah.
health and safety is the thing.
Because it said for this Twilight Zone one that they set off a pyrotechnic that melted the blades of the helicopter, and that's how it crashed.
Yeah.
Which sounds
Okay, yeah, the segment is still in the film. It's called Time Out, and
Really?
it's the original story in the film.
Huh.
Um,
Well.
The opening is you're about to meet an angry man, Mr. William Connor, who carries on his shoulder a chip the size of the national debt. This is a sour man, a lonely man who's tired of waiting for the breaks that come to others, but never to him. Mr. William Connor, whose own blind hatred is about to catapult him into the darkest corner of the Twilight Zone. That's my Rod Sterling impression.
that was good. Is it him that does the movie as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Uh,
So
yeah.
that was a nice note to end on.
It sounds suspiciously, actually, that one of those segments was cut because there seems to be only 3 bodies that Bill's put into. Anyway.
Anyway.
Focusing less on tragedy. I guess that's really it. Do you have much else to say about the film?
No,
actually?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't really know if I've got anything else to say at all. Yeah. Do you? you been up to anything?
Uh,
I've not really been up to anything. I went to see the Red Arrows today, and they cancelled,
yeah.
which was
Yep.
hilarious. I didn't go far to
It's
see
your
them.
fault
I
for
just
being
went.
into
I went
the.
uptown, and then came home again. So it wasn't like I specifically went out of my way miles to go see them. But it was a bit disappointing, and there were a lot of kids that were disappointed, I think, as well. So yeah,
Their fault.
so that's what I've been up to.
Yeah, I've been a little bit of a Britcom kick recently. So I started watching Channel 4's Catastrophe and This Country on BBC One and
Yeah,
the new Lee Mack sitcom Semi Detached,
yeah,
which are all three of them are extremely good. Um, really quite wonderful shows.
good.
Watch them if you can. I'll guess there's a few little descriptions. Catastrophe is the oldest of the bunch, as in I think it started in 2015 or something. It stars Rob Delaney. It's about like a couple who, after a one night stand, the woman becomes pregnant, and they decide to have the child together. But obviously, it's a very stressful time for them because they're now getting married and having a child together. And Rob's character lives in America, so he's having to move over to the UK for this, and they're very worried about complications with the birth. The wife is possibly developing cancer.
Awesome.
Um, but it's genuinely really very funny as well.
I think
And
I've heard about it. Yeah.
yeah, I was surprised. It's quite good.
Hmm.
And yeah, I would say no, no, I was going to say that. I
Okay.
would say the best of the ones I've started watching is This Country, which stars Charlie Cooper and Daisy May Cooper, which is a mockumentary very much in the style of the UK Office, set in a Cotswold village, following two rural young adults.
Yeah.
Which is very funny.
I've
Quite.
I've seen clips from it and I didn't find it that funny, but
I think it's one of those things where I think it only works as a whole because it's very character based, as it were. Now I'm going to also give what I know is everyone's least favorite sort of qualifier on a recommendation, which is that I don't think the first episode is very good, but I was really sold from the second episode on.
someone's died from it.
Oh, and this yeah, the guy who plays the best friend died.
Oh, last year. Oh, well, that's
Yeah,
a shame.
uh, yeah. The last series of This Country was this year.
Right.
But Daisy May Cooper is going to be on series 10 of Taskmaster, and that's why I was watching it. If people are wanting continuity in my interests from week to week.
Let's see.
Also, I officially watched too much Taskmaster, and now if I watch another episode, I will kill myself.
Yeah, you did watch it really quickly because
Yeah.
it's I can imagine one would get quite bored of it after a bit, and you
Yeah, I
watched like
watched
all the seasons.
eight. I watched 8 series and one episode of series 9, and then I took a little break. And then looking around myself at the end of that little break, I was like, if I watch another episode of Taskmaster, I will scream.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always do that. I get very like intensely interested in things, and then like I look around me after like my interest is burned up, and I'm like, I cannot deal with this anymore.
Is that not a symptom of autism?
It's a symptom of ADHD.
Oh.
You moron.
I thought getting obsessed with things was.
Hyper obsessions is a symptom of a lot of things. It's also just
That's
a
true.
personality
It is
trait,
also a person.
potentially.
Yeah. I didn't mean to call you autistic
The-
there. I was just.
The third sitcom I've been hyper focused on ADHD. I don't think I have it.
I don't think so.
The third Britcom I've only watched 2 episodes of so far is Semi Detached, starring Lee Mack as Stuart, who's a middle-aged man whose life is in crisis. So it's shot in like that one take style. It's very similar to Birdman. A lot of percussion.
Oh, okay. I need to check that out then. That sounds interesting.
So I thought, yeah, I've watched quite a bit of it. It didn't get super good reviews, whereas This Country and Catastrophe, I think, all did quite well critically.
Yeah, they're very well.
I liked it. A lot of the reviews were calling it like a bit too conventional and stuff. But you know, I like convention.
Yeah.
It can be good. I suppose. I mean, I'm sure, like particularly for comedy, among anything else. I mean, every reviewer's opinion is going to be coloured by the fact that they have to watch way more television than anyone else.
Yes, that's true.
So, like, particularly stuff that's cliche or derivative is going to be looked upon much more harshly than it would be by the average consumer.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's pretty good. I'm planning on watching the rest of it.
Good.
Yeah.
I watched Knives Out last night. I forgot to say
Oh
that.
yeah, you did, and yeah, we're going to talk about it because I love that film.
I thought it was
Um,
very good.
mhm.
So spoiler alert: if you've not seen Knives Out, stop listening now. Um,
Yeah, we aren't going to talk about anything
this
after
is
this
the last
anyway.
thing we're going to talk about. So if you've not seen it, stop listening. The spoiler. Okay, so I
Bye.
thought it was good.
Hmm.
I thought it was really clever. I really like
Yeah.
watching these films where you have to like try and work out what's going on. However, the
Hmm.
Hugh did it line really fucking ruined it for me.
Which one?
Hugh when she's like the woman didn't say you did it, she said Hugh did it, and I was like fuck off. That's
Yeah.
the dumbest fucking thing ever.
Boo. You got no sense of fun, you pansy. I genuinely forgot that line.
It it
Uh,
I was it because it was so clever. It was like this, and she can't. It had all these cool things like she can't. She froze up how she lies, so she can't lie, and then she like throughout the film works out how to sort of not tell the truth completely, and then she gets tricked by this person, and this person knows this, and all this kind of stuff, and then it's all coming out,
mm,
and it's all coming out really good, and then it's fucking Hugh did it instead of you did it, and I was like, wow.
yeah.
And then after a couple minutes, I got back into it for the final big reveals where she's like, she's actually dead. I lied. You're
Mm,
going to prison. You just confessed it. And the guy's like,
yeah.
yeah, we recorded it. That is, yeah. But the Hugh
Yeah,
did it
I
line I
like.
was not a fan of at all.
I really. I enjoy films a lot where like it feels like it's sort of like what would you say, like a series of like it's just a lot of Chekhov's guns basically, like 20 billion of them all set up, and that's the film,
Yeah.
which now caters for me very well. I genuinely loved the moment, even though like it was so clearly set up to be like a thing that will come back later. When it turns out it's a fake knife at the end, I was like,
Oh
yeah,
my god, I loved that bit so much.
yeah,
I was like, wait, what? He's gonna stab her, and I was like, wait. Earlier on, Harlan said he can't tell the prop knives from the real knives, and I realized it just as she stabbed it in. I was like,
uh,
oh my god! Whenever I watch a film, I think I've said this
yeah,
before in a podcast. I can watch a film and for 2 hours be bored out my fucking mind. But at the end, there's a twist or there's a
yeah,
callback or something. Just those last 5 minutes, and I leave the film with this like great feeling. Like if something at the end is really good, then I leave the film with a good feeling, and then I'm much more
yeah,
likely to like it. So yeah, I did like that bit. Yeah,
yeah.
it was really
It's
good.
much more important to end strong than pretty much any other thing.
Exactly.
But Knives Out, it's really one thing Knives Out does that's quite interesting. And you'll know this as well. I'm just saying for anyone who hasn't watched it, is that it sort of converts into a thriller for the second third, and then switches back to being a whodunit.
Yeah, because you find out who did it early on.
You think you found out who did it almost immediately,
At
and
what
then it turns out
point?
it wasn't
At
actually.
what point did you realize that the morphine was not morphine?
I genuinely, I was like, I was thinking in the background there has to be another element to this.
Yeah.
Maybe just because I'm a big rube, but until Daniel Craig did his donut hole inside another donut hole thing, it hadn't occurred. I hadn't put it together that actually someone else was responsible.
Really? I was. I think I was
Although
a
I think
bit quicker. I think I
anyone who
was a
was a
bit
bit
quicker than
more
that.
detached from
I
it, I'm
definitely
sure would
didn't
have.
get it straight away, but I was definitely a bit quicker. Where I was like, wait a minute, the morphine has been switched here. Because I was
Mm.
thinking, because I sort of realized that she was definitely not going to be blamed for it. And then I was
Yeah,
like, well, Daniel
oh,
Craig's going
definitely.
to know what happened. So the only way that this is going to sort itself out
Mhm.
is that
Yeah, I think my
is if
background.
she
Yeah,
didn't kill him and it was a suicide. I
yeah.
also
Yeah, my background guess in the back of my mind was that it's probably some kind of showy suicide, or he didn't die at all. Like those were like my two
right.
guesses.
I guessed it was Chris Evans about the same time as well. I would say I definitely didn't guess it before it was something that you could work out. Like I didn't guess it
Yeah,
early or anything, but I guessed it earlier than they revealed it. But that's the whole point of the film is that like
yeah.
you're supposed to try and do it. And I was like, well,
Well,
someone's hired. The big thing was that
mm,
someone had hired Benoit, and I was like, well, in that case, they know that she's going to get caught, so they've hired him to
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. There's something I read a while back said that like the trick to writing a good mystery novel is to present someone with an unsolvable puzzle, but to convince them that they could have figured it out if they were just a bit smarter.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so
I
at
don't
the
know.
end you're like, yeah,
Yeah, so like when Poirot is like, "Oh, I was Miss Simmons," and you'll be like, and he's like, here are these highly selective hints that I figured out.
exactly.
Like, oh, I definitely could have done that if only I was a
I
bit
think
smarter.
yeah, I think the key is to make it so that that not everyone works out, but make it so that some people can actually work it out, but they can never work it out fully until it's revealed.
Yeah.
So like
Well, the thing is,
you
yeah,
can know that someone did it, but there's always that bit in the back of your mind until the detective says who it is. There's always
yeah.
that bit that's like, oh, maybe I don't know. Like even if you have worked it out,
Hmm.
and I think that's the balance you want to get. Because if you
Yeah.
make it so that
Well,
no one can work it out, then it's a
yeah.
bit like, well, kind
Well, I
of
think
dumb.
like
But
a lot of the time, like you might figure out like, hey, wait a second, she said she was growing geraniums. Those don't grow at Christmas time, and then you'll
yeah,
be like, oh, it must have been her. But I don't think anyone would ever in a million years figure out the full Poirot speech from beginning
no,
to end.
obviously not. No.
Like you're not really given the proper hints for that.
Hmm.
I think it's quite an interesting contrast when you play like detective games and stuff. Because like obviously in those you have to be able to work out the case.
Yeah, it's
If
usually quite obvious.
possibly.
And but even
And
then,
as a result, it usually feels a bit more obvious.
even
Yeah.
then, it's you still feel really dumb when you don't get it. Even if it's a hard one,
Yeah.
and then you don't get it, you're like,
Mhm.
"Fuck, I'm so dumb," you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just interesting. Mystery writing's fun.
yeah,
Oh,
cool.
um. Yeah. Cool. We good to sign off.
Yeah, let's
Or
sign off. Let's call it a poddy.
bio
Bye.
chickadee.
But
Oh.
bye.
Oh. Wait. Duncan, you haven't stopped yet, right?
I
One
no
thing.
comment.
Okay. Cool. Well, it's just going to be me speaking into the void, possibly.
No, I
Uh,
yeah.
Advance warning, possibly for next week. Next week it's quite hard to find a film that released that week.
Okay.
There's one possible one called Wanda, which I think we might be able to get a stream of. But if we aren't, then we are probably going to either have to cheat by looking at international release dates, or possibly do another film from the year that we missed because we started halfway through. So advance warning,
Oh.
people who are
Yeah,
super dedicated. But I'm sure it won't happen.
I'm
Anyway,
sure we'll be fine. Okay.
bye.
Bye. Bye.